I believe it matters. And just think about it. I mean, think of all the space exploration we've done, and we are the only place where all of this life occurs, where all of this beauty occurs. Pretty special. So, my talk title today is also the vision of a world that works for all. And our theme is a world that works for everyone, which is the theme for, as I said, this month and for the year. There are over 400 centers for spiritual living, all speaking this year about this vision. It has been coordinated by Reverend Dr. Edward Viljoen and his community in Santa Rosa, and they put it out, and all of these churches have signed up. So we're all concentrating on this world that works for everyone because we know the power of the collective consciousness. So think about it, Sunday morning started in New Zealand for us. We have communities in New Zealand and Australia, so it started for us there yesterday because that's when it was Sunday morning there, but it's been going around the world. Moscow, Ukraine, France, Germany, England, here, Canada, America, South America, Central America, all of these places aligned and doing this focus on a world that works for everyone, for all beings, for all life, and for the planet itself. Now, as part of this, there's been all kinds of resources put out there, and one of the resources was a list of books that we could use. And before I get into that, I'm going to give you the first two items of a world that works for everyone that are from the Centers for Spiritual Living, what's called the organizational design. And the vision of this community, the Centers for Spiritual Living, the global vision, starts out with, we envision all people, all beings, and all life as expressions of God. Now, if you have a problem with the G word, substitute whatever you want, spirit, universe, life, whatever. So we believe that all people, all beings, all life are expressions of that one ineffable, unnameable thing. And we see a world in which each and every person lives in alignment with his or her highest spiritual principle, emphasizing unity with God, connection with each other, and a world which individually and collectively we are called to a higher state of consciousness and action. We are individually called to a higher state of consciousness and action. Now, the Reverend Dr. Edward Viljoen has sort of shortened to this. He makes it the first one where all life is honored as expressions of the divine. All life is honored as expressions of the divine. And the second one, where people live according to spiritual truth. Where people live according to spiritual truth. So it's a little bit more, you could sort of get your teeth around it, The other one is nice and it's flourishing and it's, you could spend a year meditating on that. But just saying, where all people live according to spiritual truth. Okay, I could handle that. All right, so they recommended a bunch of books. And so I picked one of the books, and I think there are copies in the bookstore, of Creating a World That Works for All. Creating a World That Works for All by Sharif Abdullah. Now, Sharif Abdullah was actually born Sherwood Sanders in Camden, New Jersey. But in that Camden, New Jersey home, it was the projects, and his family was on welfare. And he lived as a child in grinding poverty, a polluted environment, and almost continual violence. That was where he was raised. And in the 60s, in Camden, he founded the Black People's Unity Movement, which promoted self-help and development in Camden's inner city. He received his bachelor's degree from Clark University and a law degree from Boston University and spent 6 years as a practicing attorney in North Carolina, representing everybody from indigent families to innovative businesses trying to make a difference in the community. But after 6 years of being in the law, in an adversarial environment all the time, he thought, this is not for me. There is got to be something more. There's something greater going on here. So he became disillusioned, and he decided to devote himself to a path of social change that was positive and inclusive. He has a chapter in this book on his vision of a world that works for all, and it begins with a quote by Eknath Esran. Right, Eknath Esran, that spiritual teacher. Our greatest strength lies not in how much we differ from each other, but in how very much, we are the same. So this particular book was written in 1999, so it's a little dated. It's before the two wars that we were in and the current terrorist threat that everybody's freaking out about and that's being used to manipulate us into all kinds of weird stuff. But he talks about in the period before the Soviets disappeared, before the Soviet Union fell apart, that our purpose was to stop Soviet expansion. That was a purpose that we had as a nation, stop Soviet expansion. He's saying, well, what is our purpose now? What is the purpose of this culture, of this society that we're living in? What is our purpose now? The Bible says, where there is no vision, the people perish. So what is our vision, the vision that holds us together as citizens, not only of the United States, but citizens of the world? And so he suggests that the vision is an inclusive human society on a habitable planet. An inclusive human society on a habitable planet. That pretty much says it all. An inclusive human society on a habitable planet. And he said this means fulfillment, both for those who are at the bottom of the society and as well as those who are at the top of the society. He says work, resources, responsibilities, spiritual gifts, and material goods may not be evenly spread, but everyone has enough. Everyone has enough. He states that what's required, of course, is a change in consciousness. A change in consciousness from exclusivity to inclusivity. When we have a consciousness of exclusivity, we think we are separate. We're better than, we're more educated than, we're more affluent than, we're we're entitled than, blah, 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 blah. And when we're in this exclusive type of consciousness, this exclusive type of consciousness allows us to participate in racism, sexism, homophobia, slavery, all of the things that we call evil on the planet are because we believe that we're separate and that we don't have anything to do with those people. That what happens to those people has no impact on us. This is not the truth. This is not the truth. He says we have to restructure our priorities, our attitudes, and our culture. It is an evolutionary shift towards spiritual compassion, a transformation of head, of heart, and of hand. And he says it begins with our own spiritual transformation, opening to the reality that transcends ordinary experience. The reality that transcends ordinary experience, because the reality that transcends ordinary experience is that we are inextricably connected to one another in consciousness and in form. Right now, if we were to look at this room using a quantum camera of some kind, a quantum vehicle looking at all of our particles are interacting with one another. We are exchanging atoms. And we're all immersed in the one consciousness. The one consciousness that created everything, that brought us into being and created us as vehicles for its expression. So we're all sharing that same consciousness. And yet we've all got individualized experiences, individualized beliefs, individualized filters on what we see or don't see about what's going on. And yet, if we recognized our oneness, if we recognized our interconnection, what a change we could see. Now for him, he experienced a microcosm. This is Sharif Abdullah again. He described a microcosm he experienced of a world that works for all. He went to Sri Lanka in 1977 to study with Dr. A.T. Aryatani. And Dr. Aryatani founded a group called the Sarvodaya Shramadana movement. Don't say that 3 times fast. Okay. Sarvodaya is Sanskrit meaning the awakening of all, and Shramadana means to donate effort. So it's about donating effort to the awakening of all. And they did this in this country that was experiencing a lot of war and violence at the time. So a lot of people came to study with him. And so there were a lot of people there from all over the world. And they would all get together in the canteen every evening or every meal. In the canteen, the foreigners were seated at a separate table. They were served large family-style platters of food and given china plates. The Sri Lankans took the other tables. They lined up at the kitchen door and received a shallow metal bowl full of rice and then had the access to the same curries that were being served to the foreigners. Some of the foreigners, like Americans who had taken inclusivity trainings, diversity trainings, said, well, this isn't fair, I'm going to go stand in the line. And so they would go stand in the line and they would receive a china plate. Go back to your table and eat. The thing is, the Sri Lankans were demonstrating cultural sensitivity to the foreigners, and they were perfectly content with the way that they did things themselves. They liked the way they did things because it meant that nobody was getting more than they wanted, and everybody was fed. And you could always go back to the window if you were Sri Lankan. You could go back to the kitchen and get more food. And the people on the foreigners' table had big portions of food in the serving platters, and they could take just as much as they wanted. So they didn't take more than they needed, and they thought this was a good way to make sure that people weren't eating more than they didn't give people food that they were supposed to eat. They just let them take the food that they wanted to eat. So it was an experience that was separate, but it was honoring of the Sri Lankan tradition and of hospitality and of feeding everyone. And so he saw that, it didn't have to be everybody doing the same thing, but he thought it demonstrated three principles. What will we know? How will we know what a world that works for everyone looks like? And what he says is that there are three principles that outpicture in a world that works for everyone, a world that works for all. First of all, enoughness. Everyone has enough. Even though resources may not be shared equally, everyone has enough. Enough food, enough shelter, enough work, enough relationship. Everyone has enough. Exchangeability. Trading places would be okay. If the foreigners lined up and the Sri Lankans ate off the China plates, everyone could live with that. It does not mean that everyone would like or prefer the change. But it just means that they would not feel they were being punished or stigmatized by the change. So exchangeability. We wouldn't mind going to live in this other situation. We might not prefer it, but we knew that there would be enough if we went to that place to do that thing. There would be enough. There would be enough. And the third thing was common benefit. The system is designed and intended to benefit all. The system is designed and intended to benefit all. So what he says is, he said, applying the criteria. He said, applying the criteria to our current state of domestic or foreign issues and see how you judge them. Does the world work for a welfare mother? Does she have enough? Would you trade places with her? Was the system designed to benefit her? Does the world work for all the residents of your city? Would you be willing to trade places with someone on the other side of town? Would it be safe to do so? Do the residents of your city have enough security? Were your city's institutions designed to benefit every citizen? Does the world work for a teenager who just attempted suicide? Does he have enough? Enough love, understanding, respect, or self-esteem? Would you trade places with him? Were local social and psychiatric services designed to benefit all age groups? Does the world work for a tree in an old-growth forest about to be cut down to feed the insatiable appetites of our culture? For things? Does it have enough life? Would you offer yourself as a sacrifice in its stead? Was the system designed to benefit this tree or any tree? Does this world work for our children? Do they have enough future? Would you trade places with them given the risks, dangers, and uncertainties of the 21st century? Was the system through which we squandered their inheritance of resources while saddling with our debts designed to benefit them? Food for thought. But he talks about a dream he had, a teaching dream. He said, in this dream, I am both the observer and the participant. I'm on a road blindfolded. As the observer, I can see myself from above standing on the road. As the participant, I feel myself blindfolded and helpless. I'm in a place like Kansas with broad horizons and wide open spaces. Behind me, there's a huge tumbleweed rolling down the road. The scraping sound of this tumbleweed coming my way scares me, so I start running, still blindfolded. As I run faster, the tumbleweed picks up speed. I, the participant, don't know what it is or whether it can hurt me. I run off a high cliff The tumbleweed still in pursuit. I am flying in the air. I am still trying to avoid the tumbleweed. I am afraid of being smashed on the ground. I'm still blindfolded, so I don't know how far away the ground is. As I'm falling, I hear voices calling out to me, "Take off your blindfold and fly along with us." I am afraid to take off the blindfold. I don't trust the voices. I don't believe the people can fly. I know that I'm going to die. The blindfold protects me from the certainty of the moment of my death. Even though I know I will die, I still want to pretend that my death will be a surprise. Although I'm afraid, I remove the blindfold. I see people, thousands upon thousands of people dressed in strange clothes flying slowly around me. I'm the only one falling. They say to me, "Follow our ways, and you too will fly." Their ways are foreign to me, but I do not see the alternative. As I follow them, the road, the blindfold, the tumbleweed are left behind, forgotten. The fear of crashing is a vague memory. I am flying. He said, the dream was worth pondering. What would have happened if I had taken off the blindfold on the road before the cliff? Would I have avoided the tumbleweed and the cliff edge but never learned to fly? Paradoxically, if I solved my problems too soon, I would never have experienced transformation. My problems really were a blessing. Our problems are a blessing. Our problems are a blessing because they're forcing us to look a new way. He says, I see the tumbleweed dream as a powerful metaphor for the state of our society. We are blessed with our problems, blessed with poverty and social decay, with the mess. These conditions impel us to new, inclusive ways to connect ourselves with others. We are, in our blind state, being impelled to change, to grow. What was the tumbleweed in the dream? The tumbleweed represented fear. This powerful image of impending doom was necessary to get me to jump off the cliff. Our fear leads us to take actions of which we have previously believed ourselves incapable. The blindfold represents ignorance. Who put that blindfold on me? Perhaps it was self-imposed, or perhaps someone did it for my own good. Perhaps the blindfold is a form of divine intervention, a process like childbirth outside of my conscious control. That is for the good of life. Whatever it was, it got me to fly. So, we are being called to fly. And the start of this is the realization of our oneness. Because our oneness, knowing our oneness, obliges all of us to treat one another as we would want to be treated. Does that sound familiar? In Christianity, this is called the Golden Rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. When I went to the Parliament of the World's Religions in October, they gave us this book of all of the workshops that they were having, the directory and the times and everything of all the workshops. And there were 1,200 of them. But they have the formulations of the Golden Rule. And I want you to note that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 pages of formulations of the Golden Rule for every religion, spiritual tradition, philosophical tradition. So there are quotes from humanists, there are quotes from Socrates, as well as Buddhism, Taoism, Hinduism, Judaism, Christianity, etc. All of them have this underlying premise: you should treat others as you want to be treated. And yet, all of these spiritual traditions having this same belief, who's practicing this? Who is practicing this on a daily basis? That list was actually provided by a group called the Golden Rule Project. And they're asking people to sign a petition that says that we're going to make efforts to strive to understand the meaning of the Golden Rule and incorporate it in my life, recognizing that this is difficult but possible. That was their first effort. The second effort is, I will petition those who represent me to do the same. And the third effort is, I will unite with others who represent a striving towards compassion, fairness, and respect for our planet Earth. Ernest Holmes, our founder, says, there is no need for the individual to prepare to meet God. The individual is meeting God every day, every hour in the day. So let us practice being the presence of the divine and recognizing that everyone else is also the presence of that divine and holding all of life sacred. And so our affirmation, which is on page 2 of the bulletin, our affirmation for this week is, I am committed to living the Golden Rule. 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 And so it is.